What if I told you Valyria's dragons weren't alone? Because behind every brood, every road of fused stone, and every storm-lit beacon stood 14 gods whose rivalries and alliances shaped the Freehold for tens of thousands of years. Let's open the gates and meet the pantheon that lights the 14 flames. What more is there to do? The oldest accounts the Valyrians preserve say the pantheon's public naming begins only after the world-forging dragon Thraxia turns 2 elder flames into 14, and the first twin vents are consecrated as the flame of Valyrian and the flame of Thrax. The remaining 12 volcanoes are named for, and ritually identified with, the younger gods and goddesses. This is where the temple registers truly start, where the beacons get their liturgies and the wares receive their household rites, where oathfire, law, and stormcraft receive their patrons in a system built by and for the true Valyrian. As a baseline for our canon floor, remember that the Valyrians are polytheists. Sources note that the old gods of Valyria were worshipped broadly, and although only a handful of divine names survive as dragon names, in the histories Balerion, Vagar, Meraxes, and Syrax, the rest of the pantheon's titles and functions survive through the rites, synods, and registry fragments brought to us by Valyrian scholars and seers and filed away on stone tablets. It's only now that we open those forbidden vaults to share with you our beloved Valyrian dragon seeds. What follows is a tour of all 14, starting with the father and mother, then the 12 children in an order that highlights how their domains interlock during campaigns, marriages, harbor seasons, and succession trials. We will walk you through each deity, telling you how the deity appears in rites, what distinctive power sets them apart, what responsibilities the faithful expect from them, and where their cult operates most strongly among the Freehold's workers and rulers. Where appropriate, you'll see how they spar or ally with a sibling, because synergy and rivalry are the logic of this pantheon. All right, let's get this fire burning. Valyrian, father of flames, he who drinks the world fire. The father stands in the first consecrated flame as a figure of obsidian-veined black fire, eyes like banked coals and voice like quenching steel. He is oath flame and the hottest fire together, the spark that begins great works and the judge that ends them when oaths fail. He sanctifies all of the pantheon's contracts in public, steadies the forges when war is not warranted, and punishes perjury with a fire that, so hymns insist, will not burn the innocent. Valyrian Foundry masters call his name before working Valyrian steel in the forge. Road builders stamp his name into the blackened brick laid to the ground, blessing the roads and bridges, and siege engineers knot his cord at the joint where a counterweight could split a wall the wrong way. His power distinguishes itself by touching both the moment of forging and the moment of judgment, which leaves him in a constant useful tension, building and maintaining the 14 flames as the foundational structure of which the Valyrian Freehold would be built upon. Valyrian is husband to Thrax and father of the 12. His rivalry with the god Valyrian, the keeper of the gate, is mentioned in ancient texts that shakes the Valyrian world when justice battles remembrance. Public veneration and naming are first recorded after the new vents are raised by Thraxia. Valyrian receives the elder of the original 2 flames by synod decree, formalizing his standing as the father of the 12. The mother appears vast, red on black, haloed by a crown of ash glass shards with wings like fused shelves, and a breath that burns white hot, not merely a keeper of nests, but a world forger who raises and calms the 14 flames. She blesses eggstone ledges and literally mothers the 12. Her Valyrian devotees are hatchery keepers, ware architects, and ash road engineers, which tracks with the mythic claim that she gathered 12 new volcanoes to ring the original twins. In stories told at the ash monasteries, she also refuses tyrannical bonds and sleeps for eras between makings. Yet when she wakes, vents obey and ledges vitrify smooth as mirror. And a generation later, the roads and mines appear around her work, as if the land itself had agreed to be useful. During the doom of Valyria, Valyrians prayed for her mercy to calm the 14 flames. But as we all know, their prayers were not answered. She overlaps the goddess Meraxes at sea thresholds, and the goddess Mantara at fire beacons. A triad that keeps harbors safer than any empire without dragons could manage. When the first of ancient records mention her, they speak of her as the literal beginning. The synods say the naming of the pantheon starts after Theraxia forges the 14, with the 2 elder vents consecrated as Valyrian and Therax, with the 12 younger flames, named for their children. The rest of the 12 flames follow how the Freehold plans operations. Storms and beacons for air lanes, sea and chart for logistics, law and kin for stability, forge and mercy for sustainability, remembrance and deception for the shadow war between prophecy and science. These are the threads that bind the history of Valyria together from the beginning. And today, we'll walk you through each. Vhagar stands in bronze war aspect, with storm-girded pinions and thunderbells at her waist. She trains discipline, steadies courage, and, this is crucial, teaches stormcraft as a skill, not merely a prayer. So, drill masters bless formations in her name and beacon captains read the wind and storms like law, all in the name of the goddess Vhagar. Her defining power is the harnessing of storm and order together, which is why she often gets invoked by riders who must dive in crosswinds, or Valyrian freeholders hiding out during a torrential storm. In the saga cadence, she is the elder sister who insists that courage is a system all should follow. Her disciplined attitude often offends her younger sister Nyarissa, but they also work together to couple discipline with soft power, preventing the Valyrian Empire's courage from turning to needless war. Meraxes, Lady of Salt and Stars. Meraxes steps from spray with tidal hair and starlit eyes. She is beauty incarnate with her cloak, stitched with the constellations of the ancient Valyrian sky. She watches over currents, charts, and honest ship captains, granting a clean landfall to those who respect the line between star and sea. Her core responsibility is the integrity of sea routes, long river bends, and the transfer between ship and dragon. Captains and cartographers keep her lamps unshuttered on nights when fog eats their vision, and in set-piece tales, she opens a gap in the surf just long enough for a convoy to make the turn. Her distinguishing power is navigation as blessing. Ship captains learn to pray for Meraxes before every journey in and out of the Valyrian seas. Meraxes and Mantara have a tight-knit sister ship. Meraxes keeps the ship lanes safe, while Mantara lights the way. Syrax, broodmother, keeper of kin. Syrax appears in the pantheon as a warm-eyed matron with a spiral egg scepter, scales like fresh shell. She guards fertility, adoptions, legitimations, and the safety of infants and eggs. Household shrines bear her braid of 3, blood, sworn, and fostered. Because in a city of riders, kinship is the bond that survives war. In old Valyrian customs, she oversees the naming of newly hatched drakes and the staff that can reorder heirs if the line is tainted. And this is why she occasionally debates Koros about what bound truly means when a family must bend to survive. She knows the importance of bloodline, but recognizes the danger in the ancient Valyrian practice of intermarrying. Her distinctive power is the foster's legal fire, kin made durable by right instead of blood alone. We can see her influence fade the closer we get to the doom of Valyria, with Koros's influence taking precedence in the Valyrians' practices to keep the blood pure between families. Koros, Lord of Bound Words. Koros wears a magistrate's scroll cloak stitched with chain links. His wax seal signet burns faintly. Koros wears a magistrate's scroll cloak stitched with chain links. His wax seal signet burns faintly, mortals say when the parties lie. He witnesses contracts, arbitrates oaths, sets wills and tolls, and presides over the courts where freehold families settle disputes about air lane rights, harbor dues, and the testament of flame. His distinguishing power is the immediate clarity of terms, the sensation in the room when the language snaps taut, and a feud that might have become war becomes a ledger instead. He believes that blood needs to remain untampered with between families in order to remain pure. Some families of the Valyrian Freehold take that to mean a Valyrian freeholder can marry within the freehold as long as they are citizens of the freehold, while other families pattern this to believe that they have to intermarry to keep the bloodline pure. This practice really starts to become more common after the year 1850 before Aegon's conquest. Valyria, mistress of the charted sky. Valyria is often seen with covered eyes and comet-threaded hair, with courier bells at her wrist. In practice, she keeps the airlane law and protects the relay system of messages, maps and codes that make dragon empires feel small. Her bright distinction is astronomy turned into logistics. Her systems build the charting of the skies, setting corridor priority when winds turn ugly. Scholars, postmasters, and navigators often pray to her before charting a long voyage in the air. Ship captains nod to Meraxes at the pier and pray to Valyria before they climb to the heavens with their mount. Nerissa, the perfumed hand. Nerissa crosses rooms like a peace treaty. Her veils dyed in Tyroshi hues, which are always vibrant and colorful. She keeps vials at her belt, which contain scents that can persuade. She governs love, diplomacy, and the arts that turn brinkmanship into marriage. Envoys call on her to end feuds with accord, and Valyrian courtesans claim her as patron for her beauty and scent, claiming her blessings in courtship and love. Her distinctive power is softening spears, the art of terms that cost less blood. She does not forbid war, but she renders some wars unnecessary, which Vhagar grudgingly shakes her head at. Dravos, maker of teeth and reins. Dravos arrives soot-black to the wrist, an artisan whose eyes appraise the rivets and seams in a rider's armor and a mount's saddle. He patronizes the harness and bits, tack, and the Fallshawl's riders cut to mark their houses. His signature rite, the test of the reins, publicly breaks failed leather and condemns shoddy gear that kills. The distinctive power here is the safety and care of a rider's gear, and Valyria needs that, because a sky empire without standards is just wind. Bitwrights and inventors bless their shops to Dravos and Valyrian in tandem when they anneal new alloys or braid a bridle that won't fail under stress. Valdrin, Ashkeeper at the gate. Valdrin is pale-feathered with a black gate standard. He stands at the gate welcoming the dead and keeping their name for remembrance. He keeps a ledger of names bound to an urn and is the law for funerary procession. His distinguishing power is death itself. He does not speak, but he writes and records. Valyrian judges, but Valdrin opens the gate. Embalmers and archivists of the dead pray to him when guiding spirits of the dead to the ash gates. Sorin, the laughing mask. Sorin is the masked trickster with a blank coin and a script-lined cloak. His steps do not echo. He exposes lies with more clever lies, licenses satire that reveals truth without blood, and polices honorable deceit, the kind you must practice in espionage and smuggling when the state's own censors forget that information is a river. The spirit of the law is his, and even that might be broken if he sees the need. The Night of Masks is a Valyrian celebration where participants can hide from their normal identity in feast and fun. His distinguishing power is misdirection that restores balance. When law hardens into coercion, laughter cuts through. Playwrights, spies, and smugglers with a code are his. Mantara, Keeper of Lights. Mantara is the Keeper of Lights and wears a crown of 3 stacked lamps with tide sparks stitched in her hem. She governs beacons and thresholds, lighthouses, storm rescues, landfalls, and crossings. Her lamplighter's march rekindles the chain before storm season, which is more than pageant. because every lamp that dies in a squall is a ship that will run aground, and a rider who might be blown off course. Her distinguishing power is visible safety, a city saying, "Here we are," to its own people. Lamplighters, coast guards, and river pilots keep her vigil. Elisar, the hand that heals. Elisar appears as a physician with a blue bowl of ice salt and gentle eyes behind burn-scar veils. She cools and heals forge burns, trains surgeons, and blesses hatcheries in plague. Her bowl of blue rites become free clinics in lean years, and one law widely attributed to her taboos, the spectacle of cruelty. No punishments or theatre that feeds a hunger for pain. Her distinguishing power is mercy systematized, healing made civic. Physicians, were-healers, and midwives keep her oaths. Tharion, the dream singer. Tharion wears cords knotted from starlight. He is the voice shows as ripples in the air, speaking prophecy to seers and leading the seeker to the right direction. Tharion guards true dreams, punishes false divination, and teaches quiet writing, the practice of setting omens to cipher and chart so that minds don't stampede. His prophecy is truth, while others selling false omens is sacrilege. Mathematicians of chance love him, and later, histories show him leading Danes the Dreamer to the safety of the West when no other listened. He weaves mortal seers into a god's syllabus. The distinctive power is the insistence that destiny be peer-reviewed. The Valyrians of old Valyria, and even after, treated the 14 as real gods. Not symbols, not pretty metaphors, real powers who listened, answered, and judged. They prayed the way sailors pray before a hard tide, the way a mother prays over a sick child, the way a magistrate prays before speaking a verdict. Every shrine, every lamp, every oath fire was a conversation with someone they believed was actually there. Households kept small altars with ash glass bowls and braids of cord. Travelers left coins and bits of worked metal at way shrines, tokens to catch a god's attention in passing. Riders tied votive cords to harness rings and whispered to Vagar for steady hands, to Meraxes for a clean landfall, to Mantara for a light through fog. Foundry crews put a pinch of oil to the flame before tapping a crucible, asking Valyrian to bless the poor and spare their fingers. Healers washed salves in a blue bowl and asked Elisar to cool a fever. Parents brought swaddled infants to a fire naming and thanked Cyrax for kin held together by more than blood. When words had to bind houses that would not trust each other, advocates burned a sliver of wax and asked Koros to make the terms hold. They also believed gods could be angered. Lamps were kept trimmed because Mantara's patience would not excuse negligence at the ridge. The test of the rains was public because Dravos hated deceit that killed riders. Valdrin's taboo against burning the unshriven was obeyed because flame without mercy offends both the dead and the living. Sorin's Night of Masks came with limits. Satire served truth, not malice, because even the laughing mask hates a lie that harms the city. This wasn't theater to them. It was fear and reverence in the same breath. And yes, visions were prayed for. True dreamers fasted and asked Tharion to show only what was needed and no more. Danes the Dreamer is remembered not just as a gifted mortal, but as a petitioner whose prayer was granted and then tested. The temples, often workshops, courts, beacons, hatcheries, or clinics, were places where prayers and work were both present. So when we say, old gods of Valyria, do not picture statues gathering dust. Picture a living pantheon that people depended on every day, invoked at dawn, thanked at dusk, feared in their anger, trusted in their mercy. The 14 were a family the Valyrians spoke to, bargained with, honored, and sometimes pleaded with. They lit vows, steadied hands, warned in dreams, checked pride, forgave, and demanded. The forms were practical, because the world was dangerous, but the heart of it was faith. They believed the gods were present. They believed the gods could be moved, and they believed their empire Its roads, lamps, courts, clinics, charts, and flights stood because the 14 held it up. You've made it to the end. I think that deserves a like and a comment. Tell us which god you want to hear more about in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next one.